what should take place out there. So we need to put up an alternative. And that alternative's got to be political representation. And the fact of the matter is that when a new political party sets up, the first thing from the cynics who say, when's this first split going to take place? And people are concerned that because there has been political parties set up and some have split and some have failed, that there's nothing you can do in the future. And I think that's something got to do on a personal basis, is people got to understand that we've got to work together in a better way. We've got to understand that people have got different points of view, but we all want to achieve the same objective and reach the same destination, but some want to go on a motorway, some want to go on a B road, some want to go on A road, and my own union wants to go on a train to get every destination it gets to. So therefore, we've got to work with each other. And therefore, my personal view is this, there has been discussion taking place on the question of a People's Charter. And the idea of the People's Charter is not a manifesto for a political party, but to give an alternative to what's taking place at this moment in time, about what the governments are doing about providing banks with money, looking after bankers. But if you work at Woolworths in Leytonstone High Road E11, you get your job, you lose your job. But if you just go for a stone's throw down the road to Canary Wharf, and if you're a stockbroker or a banker, then you keep your job. There's the nonsense of it that are taking place. And the idea of the Charter is to have an alternative to what's taking place out there, but more importantly, is to start putting politics back into people's homes again. All we keep on getting told is that the politics are only on the basis of whether you turn on the TV in the morning or at night time, and some presenter from the BBC says, it's all right now, it's not all right now, or whatever. Or some pundit gets up and says, this is the only way because we've got to lend money to each other and so on. The idea of the Charter is to say to people, there's an alternative out there. And then more importantly, is to go out there and get 1 million signatures by knocking on people's doors and start taking politics back to the workplace again. It's start knocking onto people's doors, into their homes and saying, what do you think is taking place? This is what's really taking place out there, this is the money. What's your views about altering, about what's taking place with the attacks on the economy out there? Because if we can't work together with all the different political baggage all of us have, myself included, over next year, to work behind a charter to unite people, then if you can't work to get a charter on unity, then what chance you get a political party in the future to get unity as well? And hence the reason why that we've got a golden opportunity, as I see it, is for once and for only time, is to turn around and say, because we was told, weren't we, 25, 30 years ago, that when there was a 3-day week, when the miners strike in 72 and 74, we was told it was the unions that run the country. Well, I'll tell you what, the unions run the country now, because what been the state we are now. But the one thing we're getting, I'll tell you what, I don't see the evening standard going around all these bankers' houses, taking pictures of them like out me and other trade union leaders when they've been in trouble. But I'll tell you what, a banker walking into a pub now, no disrespect to them. I mean, they'd be hanged if they walk into a pub and explain who for. Remember as they go down to Canary Wharf with their big braces on, sitting there with grapes attached to it, driving their Porsches with their bottles of champagne. Well, it's not very well like now, are they, when they're walking around the place? And the fact of the matter is, that is not because they hate the individuals, but people can see out there what's taking place. And they can put all the fog and all the mist in front of them. The reality is quite clear, is that working people are seeing now that they're paying for the crisis of big capital. And we've got an opportunity to turn around and say that we ain't going to sit back for the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years and expect people just to say, well, it's either Labour or the Tories. Or there's a new election coming up, so we've got to keep our heads down. Would you rather have Labour than the Tories? Even right down to this Mayor of London. I see this morning that he's called a conference on the 24th of January, the ex-Mayor of London, called Progressive London, where he says he's going to bring the cream of the trade union leaders together and the cream of progressive people in Britain. Well, no one here gets an invite, that's for sure. We ain't been invited to it, but I hope the first thing's going to be on the agenda from the ex-Mayor of London, that he's going to turn around and say to be progressive, when workers go out and strike to defend their jobs, he ain't going to tell people to go across picket lines. So, brothers and sisters, I've gave you the union's view, gave you my political, personal point of view, and no disrespect when John McDonnell comes here. And this is not an attack on John or the Labour Party. In fact, this week, 2 new Labour Party members have applied to join our RMT-sponsored group. Problem is we've got a group of about 24, which are a good group, but the trouble is we've got about 330 that don't come into our group. But John McDonnell, if there was an election tomorrow, I would be like I'm normally, side by side with John McDonnell in his constituency, doing the work for him. And there's others as well, the same thing, because he does the work for us, and we believe those people that show support for us when they're in our time of need, that in their time of need they get it in reverse. But the reality is when John McDonnell retires, you're not going to have another John McDonnell down Hayes and Arlington, and you're not going to have another Jeremy Corbyn up at North London, and you're not going to have other groups of people in the group that are going to come over. They're going to be hand-picked, new Labour people that support the line. And hence the reason why people are not just looking at the ballot box. Look at the protesters at Stansted Airport recently, who broke down the fence and went onto the runway up there. They've got more political understanding and got more support and understanding from the press about what they've done. The pensioners, for example, all respect to the people here today that are pensioners who play a fundamental role in the National Pensioners Convention. They walk up and down Brighton, walk up and down Blackpool, and we praise them. But they're not going to get a decent pension for walking up and down Brighton or Blackpool. They should get their friends and their families and sit on the M25 and M1 junction and refuse to go until they get a decent pension. So, brothers and sisters, I'm finishing up now on the basis that you've got the personal view from me, you've got our union's point of view, and what we need to do at the end of the day is not just say we want unity or solidarity. You always get a round of applause for that. You're only going to get unity or solidarity if you plan it around something. And my personal view is we need to plan it around the Charter, and then secondly on that, by developing, working together with each other beyond the Charter, in my view, in some distance time in the future, whatever that may be, there'll be a political party that represents working people, the unemployed and a dispossessed society. Thank you.